How often does a 48-inch vertical just fall into your lap on the eve of camp? Lakers fans. And how many times do we look back months later and say, that was the moment we could have stolen upside for pennies? Think about it. A 23-year-old former first-rounder who literally owns the NBA combined record for max vertical is suddenly on the street after starting most of last season on a rebuilding team. And the tape shows real juice on both ends. Are we really going to let that walk to a rival because we hesitated over a camp spot and a non-guarantee? If you live and breathe purple and gold like I do, smash that like, sub to Lakers News fan report, and drop a comment as we go, because this one is sneaky, it's cheap, and it fits exactly what JJ Redick keeps saying he wants. Younger legs, more downhill pressure, and point-of-attack defense that actually bothers people for 94 feet. Keon Johnson is available, and there's no fluff in that sentence. The kid who detonated the combine with a 48-inch leap is on the market at 23, fresh off a season where he showed rotation value, on-ball heat, and enough off-ball activity to swing second units. If this were any other roster with any other needs, I'd still call it interesting, but for this Lakers team, with our mix of veteran star gravity and developing guards who need friction partners in practice and game night pace, it borders on logical. Start with the frame and tools. 6-4 with pop you can feel through the broadcast. Live ball burst that turns a dead possession into 2 free throws. And that pogo stick recovery you can't teach one step late at the nail, and he still gets a fingernail on a floater. 2 steps behind on a leak out, and he still pins it. Then look at the season arc. He wasn't just a garbage time athlete. He logged real minutes. He toggled between the 1 and the 2. And he did it on a team that often asked him to guard the toughest perimeter matchup because his hips and feet let him absorb the first move and still contest. At the end of the action, you saw flashes of that against us. 13 and 2 steals in LA when we barely escaped. 18 and 3 triples in Brooklyn. When they got us, those weren't empty sprints. They were possessions where his first step collapsed the shell or his hands took a passing angle away. That matters in our building when pace stalls and we need somebody besides LeBron or a D to put a shoulder into the paint. And no, this isn't me pretending he's a finished product. The shot is the swing skill, and the processing is still speeding up. His true value right now lives in energy, defense, and violent rim pressure, but at 23, with the right spacing maps and clear reads embedded into our sets, you can grow a role player who tilts enough regular season games to matter. That's what a smart front office does in the margins. You find menaces and teach them to pick locks. You pair them with a veteran who doesn't waste a screen. And you set constraints so the decision tree isn't a forest. Run 21 action with Bronny as the delivery system and let Keon be the knife. Station neck to Laravia weak side to punish tags. And suddenly the non-shooter is a pressure valve because the rim becomes a magnet and the closeouts become reckless. Fit is more than a spreadsheet of percentages. It's about what your roster lacks in live action. And the film keeps telling the same story. We're at our best when we make teams feel us at the point of attack. When guards can absorb contact and still chase shooters over. When second units don't see tempo. That's why the move will cost almost nothing yet give. Redick a different gear to try on random Tuesdays in February when legs are heavy and half-court offense turns into sludge. And spare me the roster is full shrug. We know how Exhibit 10 churn works. You can flip one of those camp deals, bring Keon in, compete, and let the gym sort it out. The beauty here is optionality. You aren't giving up picks. You aren't hard capping yourself. You aren't promising rotation minutes on day one. You're buying the right to ask a question in training camp. Can this athlete scale his defense into a reliable role and hit just enough standstill threes to punish help? If the answer is no in October, you wish him well. If the answer is yes by December, you just found a low-cost defensive guard who changes the rhythm of second quarters and fourth quarter matchups against them. West small guard assassins. The two-way rules don't even complicate this because he's not eligible. Anymore, he's beyond that threshold, so you're thinking Exhibit 10 in the South Bay. Let the staff build a month of reps, and then keep the non-guarantee flexible for the cut-down window. Nothing risky, everything aligned with what we've already done by signing R.J. Davis, Arthur Kaluma, Augustus Marchulliones, and Eric Dixon to push internal competition. And while we're here, let's talk about how he actually helped people we already care about. He's the perfect practice irritant for Austin Reeves, forcing Austin to set his hips earlier and sell fakes sharper. He's a pace partner for Bronny, letting Redick run double drag with two guards who can both screen slip and pressure the rim. He's the kind of cutter who wakes necked up on the weak side, because when the paint touches stack, Dalton's catch and shoot windows widen. And he's a backcourt rebounder who lets a D stay home one extra beat on box outs without forfeiting the glass. Even if the jumper never crests league average, the Lakers can still parse out 8 to 12 purposeful minutes in matchups that require heat on the ball, with the goal being noisy short burst, 90 feet of pressure, one chase down scare, 3 deflections, a putback, and a cut for a dunk. Stack those in the middle quarters and you can flip a game's math. And when you look at the broader summer adding LaRavia's connected play and shooting, betting on internal growth, leaning into pace and layered screening, you can see how a vertical rocket with point-of-attack chops complements the plan. Nobody's saying he's Caruso 2.0, but the template is there. Do one thing at a high level every single night, and let the offense come from structure and speed. From a development lens, this staff is exactly the kind that can shave off the rough edges. Redick's vocabulary for timing, the player development group's obsession with footwork sequences, the way they built auto reads for young guards last year, all of that reduces the bandwidth a raw athlete has to spend just to survive a possession. Give Keon a 3-step menu early. Flatten in semi-transition if the big is backpedaling. Cut backdoor on top lock when Austin lifts, and screen-re-screen into the handoff if the first touch dies. Keep the decisions binary, and the errors become controllable. The speed becomes a weapon, and the defense gets to live in its favorite world scrambling with intent. And before anyone waves off the shooting forever, the growth curve is not a fairy tale. Guys with his motor and balance can build a respectable corner three over a season when the footwork is standardized and the touch reps are married to game pace. He doesn't need to bomb 8 a night. He needs to sit at 34 to 35% from the corners and keep the closeouts honest. Everything else is gravy. There's also a cultural element that matters more than people admit. We've spent a year talking about injecting youth without surrendering competitiveness. This is exactly that, and it sends a message to the room that if you defend like your job depends on it, you'll get a look here. That echoes with Bronny. It pushes neck. It even helps the Exhibit 10 guys because competition isn't abstract anymore. It's wearing no underscore in the drill right across from you and turning your love ball turnover into a dunk the other way. And to the cap folks, no, a camp deal like this doesn't handcuff you at the trade deadline. If anything, it preserves flexibility because you can evaluate in-house before you spend picks on a similar archetype in January. The risk is time and a few $1,000s. The upside is discovering the kind of chaos guard that every playoff rotation sneaks in for 5. Disruptive minutes when the series slows to a crawl. I get the counter-arguments. If the shot never arrives, he can be schemed off the floor. And if the processing lags a step behind elite actions, playoff coaches will hunt that. Fair, but regular seasons are won in the margins and identities are built on habits. And there is a world where Keon's habits, sprinting the floor, touching the paint, sliding his feet, contesting from behind become contagious in a locker room that already has the star pillars but needs more workers who change. Possessions without a play being called. So, what would I do? I'd cut an Exhibit 10 spot open tomorrow, fly him in, and make the gym decide. If he clears the first 2 weeks and the defensive film pops the way I think it will, I'd keep him in the system with South Bay, stack reps through November, and circle the first 10-game road stretch as the checkpoint. If the corner 3 tracks up and the foul rate tracks down, you convert him to a non-guaranteed standard and see if he can pocket 8 rotation minutes against second units that don't handle pressure. That's my call of risk, real upside, and a profile that mirrors what this coaching staff actually uses. But I'm one voice. Now, I want the diehards in here. Do you want the Lakers to bring Keon Johnson into camp? Or would you rather keep the Exhibit 10 group intact and hand the last two-way to one of them? Do you see his point-of-attack defense translating here? And do you buy the corner three getting to good enough by midseason? Personally, I'd do it. I think athleticism that real. At that age, with last season's defensive flashes and 2 head-to-head games against us that showed he doesn't blink under our lights, is exactly the kind of calculate bet a contender should make in September. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. But tell me now in the comments. Because if we wait until December and he's blowing up actions for somebody else, we'll all be asking why we didn't move when the door was open. Imagine the practice court the first week this kid walks in. Horn sets whistling, JJ barking again from the sideline. And Keon's first rep is a simple denial on the wing that turns into a live ball steal and a two-hand punch before the weak side tag even rotates. It's not highlight hunting. It's the boring, repeatable daily pressure that raises a team's floor. The Lakers were at their best last year when the guards made the first screen feel like a car crash for the ball handler, and the second action happened 2 feet deeper than it was drawn. That's what a point-of-attack pest gives you in November, when legs are heavy and game plans are thin. A half step of discomfort that compounds into bad shots and short clocks. Pair that with the luxury of having Anthony Davis behind the play, and you have a defensive identity that travels. Think about our second unit. Rhythm in those in-between stretches where LeBron staggers and a D sits. The offense can drift into 5-out jogging and ball stopping if we don't have a north-south trigger. Keon's value there isn't as a high-usage creator. It's as a pace detonator. First touch, empty corner, drag screen from a mobile big. Hit the seam before the nail defender gets set. If it collapses the shell, great simple kick to a shooter or a touch pass to the dunker spot. If it doesn't, flow immediately into a rescreen and keep the paint honest. The film doesn't lie, even on mediocre shooting nights. Vertical pressure forces rotations that create catch-and-shoot windows for the guys we actually want launching. The growth plan is not complicated. It's disciplined. Standardize the feet in the corners. Live in the 0.5 decision world. Shoot, drive, or swing in half a second. And give him 3 hard rules per possession on defense. Top foot up on shooters. No die on screens. 2 hands high on the second jump. Drop the menu of reads until it's muscle memory. Then add layers. JJ's staff is built for this. They've already shown they can embed auto reads, so a young guard isn't solving calculus every trip. You don't ask him to run the symphony. You hand him the drum and tell him to keep the beat perfect. There's also the intangible, electricity, that guys with real bounce bring to a building. Staples erupts on chase-down blocks and violent putbacks in ways that change how a road team feels the game. One play can flip a quarter. And when the roster skews veteran up top, a joke guy in the guard room matters more than the box score suggests. He becomes the player who turns a missed rotation into a recovery contest that saves 3 points, or a 50-50 ball into an extra possession when a D is buying oxygen. Those events stack up across 8-2 dot on the shot. Nobody is promising miracles. What you're betting on is competence in the corners and comfort above the break when the ball finds him late. That means reps stitched into game speed, not empty chair workouts. It means scripting lift-cut corner sequences with Austin and Dalton so his touches are predictable and his feet are ready. It also means living with the misses early if the process is clean. The tell will be his willingness to shoot the open ones without the extra nervous dribble. If he hesitates, defenses will cheat. If he lets it fly on time, spacing stays intact. Role clarity is how you avoid the journeyman spiral. Spell it out on day 1, you're here to guard the hardest cover for 8 to 12 minutes. Change the pace once a half, and win the possession battle on the margins, deflections, box outs, run outs. Anything beyond that is earned. The reward ladder is equally clear. Corner 3% ticks up, foul rate ticks down. We bump your minutes against specific matchups and give you late third stints when the game needs a punch. That's honest. Trackable progress a locker room respects. Zoom out to spring. Every contender that survives 2 rounds can manufacture 5 minutes of controlled chaos when a series bogs down. They throw on ball heat. They live with 1 extra foul. They hunt momentum. That's the exact archetype we're auditioning here. If the experiment works, we walk into May with a card we didn't have last year, and we got it for the cost of a camp slot and sweat equity. If it doesn't, we still sharpen our guards in practice. We still bang pace reps, and we move on with no dead money and no draft capital burn. There's a human arc in this too. Not every first-round athlete finds the straight line. Some guys need the right teacher, the right constraints, the right teammates to show them what winning basketball actually demands. Los Angeles can be terrifying for a young player, but it can also be the clearest classroom in the league because every mistake is loud and every good habit gets rewarded fast. If Keon leans into the dirty work and lets the offense come to him, the city will feel it. The team will, 2 dots. So here's the picture I keep coming back to. February road trip, 4th game in 6 nights, scoreboard stuck in the 80s with 9 minutes left in the 4th. Redick taps him. 2 possessions later, he knifes a dribble handoff, pokes it clean, and hammers a dunk. Next trip, he absorbs a screen, chases over, and bothers a pull-up into back iron. Crowd wakes up, our pace spikes, and the stars close on fresh legs. That's not a fantasy. That's a job description. And it's a job this roster can afford to audition without risking a thing. If you're building a contender in 2025, you don't just hoard shooters. You stockpile athletes who can survive high-leverage possessions without the ball. Keon Johnson fits that thesis line for line. Give him constraints, give him a lane, and see if he runs it like his career depends on it. Because if he does, the rest of the West is going to notice the tiny, annoying, winning plays that start showing up in our second quarters, and by then, it'll be too late for them to do anything about it.